listening to Thriving Mindfully podcast with Ananda Leeke. Tune in and learn how you can be present, well, and the real you from the heart. Today I wanted to talk about the mornings that I wake up and I feel the grief in the body. And not only do I feel the grief in the body, my nervous system, that part of me that stress impacts the most, it was on fire. During times of grief, my body experiences, on many occasions, a lot of stress. And the nervous system, my nervous system, is where it shows up. And what happens is my body moves into the fight or flight response to everything that's around me. And that puts my body in a sympathetic mode. And if it stays in this fight or flight response for a longer period of time, stuff can happen. And it can have negative effects on my body. And one of the things that I recognize from my yoga teacher training and my meditation training is that the stress in the body can affect all parts of the body, including every organ system, the heart, the digestive tract, the kidneys, the liver, the immune system, and so on and so on. And because of this understanding, a part of my self-nurturing and my intention to embrace thriving mindfully with death, loss, and grief during this period of my life, I'm committed to making sure that I have good coping skills and that I give my body what it needs to support the nervous system, to allow my body to move into a rest and digest state. That's the parasympathetic mode. This is the state. The rest and digest state is the state that allows my body to relax and heal, that allows my body to have the organs function properly so that my food is digested, that I get the nutrients, where I'm able to process emotions that come from grief. And so this morning, while I was experiencing the grief, because I got triggered from a thought of me not having control over or being present to some of the sharing of my mother's keepsakes. Even though things are organized, even though the people that are handling it are trusted folks and that care and that love my mother, it triggered me because it is the first time that I would not be present to handle something regarding my mother's things. Even though I know that my mother Teresa, and I hear her voice telling me repeatedly that she's not in her things, she is in spirit and she is living inside of me. Even though all of that, I was freaking the fuck out. And my nervous system was like, psh. It was going into fight or flight. And the first thing I did was I started to breathe deeply. Because for me, the first thing that goes for me is the breath. It just is shallow breathing. So I started to breathe deeply. The next thing I did was, because I kind of know this automatically over the years, I've developed some coping mechanisms, especially since I've had panic attacks. So my deep breathing and then giving myself a hug and holding myself and coming into a yoga pose to allow me to feel my emotions. So that's a hip opener for me. So I gave myself a hug because I know that hugging myself for 20 seconds or more reduces the cortisol, the stress hormone in my body, because the hug itself for 20 seconds or more activates the oxytocin, the love hormone, and the serotonin, the feel-good hormone. And together they work to reduce that cortisol, the stress hormone in the body. And that brings the stress down from the grief that is in my body. So I know that, and I practice that regularly. So I hugged myself, and then I moved into one of my favorite bed yoga poses, which is Baddha Supta Konada. I hope I said that right. I should know it, but if I didn't, it's when you, it's the cobbler pose, but it's reclining cobblers. When you lay back, you bring the soles of your feet into, so that they touch and they create a diamond. And that is one of my favorites for opening up my hips and feeling my emotions, and especially when I'm in a state of anxiety, panic, or the emotions are really heavy. And a little bit of all three were going on this morning. I did that, and I started singing after a while. After breathing deeply, my body started to settle down. And what came out was one of my mother's favorite gospel songs. And I'm gonna sing a little bit of it. I surrender all. I surrender all. All to thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender all. So I sang that, and there's something about the power of sound and vibration that calms me. My mom taught me that. And gospel songs also calm me. And then I moved into chanting, one of my favorite things, my mantra chanting that I learned through my Buddhist practice and my yoga practice and meditation practices. And one of my favorite chants that helps me surrender is Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya is a Sanskrit chant that helps me bow to the higher self in me. And that's surrender. It helps me release my ego, the need to control. So I just chanted, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And I did that, and I found myself calming down, calming down, calming down. Calming down enough to be able to say, what do you need? What do you need? And I sat in meditation for a few minutes and then moved into prayer. And what came was I needed my ancestors, and I started calling on my loving, wise, and well ancestors. Calling my mother, her father, their grandparents, and so on. And I called them all into my room, and I felt their presence. And I heard them tell me, as I started to cry about not being a great daughter, not being present to help distribute my mother's things and keepsakes, for this first time. I forgot about all the other times, but I was beating myself up, putting pressure on myself that I had to do it, and something was wrong with me for not doing it. And it helped me get in touch with where the trigger came from. It was my judgment of myself, trying to be perfect, trying to control things. And I heard my mother, my grandmother, and my grandfather tell me that I was a great daughter and that I've done more than enough. And I heard my mother just tell me to let it go. And that right there, coupled with everything that I did in the morning, in my morning practice, brought me to a place of calm. It brought me to a place of calm. But there are days when I'm not able to do all of that on my own. And so, for me, having sacred people around me, like my godmother Tony and my best friend Garnet in London, whose 5-hour time difference makes it great when you wake up at 6:33 in the morning and you can call and know that, hey, they're up. I texted both of them after I calmed down just so I could talk to someone. And I was able to talk to my godmother this morning. And Tony and I had a great conversation. And she reminded me that I am just getting started in this grief journey. Just getting started. I'm 8 months in on learning to live with my mother as my loving, wise, and well ancestor in the midst of dealing with her physical absence in this world and all of the feelings and thoughts and things that come with it. And she reminded me that my mother Teresa will always be with me. Always be with me. And that this grief is going to show up for the rest of my life in different ways. And that I am doing the best I can with what I have. And after I talked to Tony, I listened to a voice note that Garnet had left me because he called while I was talking to her. And he left a voice note reminding me that I am held, guided, and protected. I am held, guided, and protected by the universe, by my loving, wise, and well ancestors, by my sacred family and friends, including my godmother Tony and Garnet himself, by the angels, by my entire spiritual tribe, the Orisha, my spirit guides and master teachers, that I am held, guided, and protected. And I am grateful for the various ways that I'm able to nurture myself when I feel grief in my body and it impacts my nervous system and it sends me into the fight or flight state that I talked about earlier. That's the sympathetic mode that the body gets put into when there's so much stress. And that these different ways of nurturing myself when I tap into them and I choose to use them, that they help me come back into a rest and digest state, or they help my body enter the parasympathetic mode. That's the state that allows the body to relax and heal. That's the state of the body that promotes digestion and nutrient absorption of the food that I eat. That's the state that allows me to process my emotions that come from the grief. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I have that, and that I have these nurturing practices of deep breathing, of singing, activating that sound vibration, chanting, activating that sound vibration, yoga, allowing the body to open up to feel the emotions with my yin yoga practice, allowing myself space to meditate and to call on the loving, wise, and well ancestors and to pray, allowing myself to just surrender to this messiness of emotion called grief. So I shared this today because I wanted to capture what happened and to encourage you to find ways to nurture yourself, to create a toolkit, a grief care toolkit of 1, 2, or 3 things that you can tap into when you're grieving right where you are. Not stuff that you got to go pay for, but tapping into things that you have right where you are, so that you can go through the grief with greater ease, and that you give yourself the space and the grace to just be with what you're feeling, that you feel it all fully, and that you take the time to take care of yourself in ways that work best for you. All of this to say that you are encouraged to be soft as fuck with yourself, to slow down and offer yourself freedom today. That is something that I will continuously say to you and to myself as we move through this life, and especially if you are going through death, loss, and grief. That soft as fuck is making sure that you slow down. That's the S. The O is offer yourself. The F is freedom. That freedom is the nurturing, the self-care right there, right what you have, using what you have right where you are. And the freedom is what brings you into a place of calmness, so that you can actually feel what you need to feel. And the T in the soft is today. That is the present moment. So it's slow down and offer yourself freedom today, which is the self-nurturing, the self-care that you can use right where you are in the present moment. That's the freedom. That's the today. And the as fuck, the AF, is by any means necessary. So it is doing it immediately, when you can, where you can, with what you have. And a lot of times, the thing that we can use to take care of ourselves when we're grieving, especially if it's affecting our body and it's impacting our nervous system, we can use our breath. We always have our breath. So join me in taking some deep breaths. We're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, and then in through the nose and out through the nose, so that you can experience two types of breathing. So right where you are, just slowing down, coming into a comfortable posture, whether it's seated, standing, or laying down. If it helps to bring one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart, do that so that you can connect with your body, noticing the heartbeat, noticing how the belly feels. And then joining me in inhaling through the nose deeply, holding that breath, noticing how the belly feels with the breath in the body, and then releasing it slowly through the mouth. Let's take another deep breath in through the nose. Hold the breath. And as you exhale, notice how the body feels as you allow the breath to come out with a sigh. Taking another big breath in, holding that breath, and then releasing it through your mouth, ending with a soft smile. So just allowing yourself to sit still just for a moment, noticing any sensations in your body, noticing how you feel. And then joining me in taking 3 big breaths through the nose. We're inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. So let's inhale through the nose and then exhale through the nose. Inhale again through the nose and exhale through the nose. One more time. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose. Now, as you sit still just for a moment, which type of breathing did you like the most? Was it the inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth, or inhaling and exhaling through the nose? Which one did you like the most? Whichever one that you like the most, try using that in the next couple of hours when you deeply breathe, because I'm going to give you a heart work. That's homework, a heart work assignment. I want you to take 3 big breaths in and out, either in through the nose and out through the mouth, or in through the nose and out through the nose. Take 3 big breaths before you go to bed. And then when you wake up, take 3 big breaths. And after you breathe, I want you to practice giving yourself a self-hug for 20 seconds or more. You can count slowly to 20 as you give yourself a hug. And as you're breathing in and out at your own body's rhythm. Or you can combine the exercises together. You can breathe deeply for 3 breaths and hug yourself. And just notice how your body feels with that self-hug and the deep breathing. May you build and use a grief self-care or grief care toolkit with 1 to 3 things that you can use right where you are at any point in time. Maybe it's the breath. Maybe it's a self-hug. Maybe it's singing, activating this sound vibration in your body to bring calm to yourself. Singing one of your favorite songs that helps you calm down. Maybe it's holding your hands. Maybe it's doing a yoga pose in the bed or right where you are. Maybe it is journaling. Maybe it is listening to a sound bath on YouTube. I know today I've been listening to a nervous system healing sound bath that is just incredible, and been listening to it for most of the day, and it's just been so healing, and it's helped me focus as well. Maybe a part of your grief self-care or grief care toolkit, whatever you choose to call it, maybe that includes reaching out to one of your sacred family or friends and letting them know how you feel or talking to them. Whatever it is, pick 1 to 3 things to put in your grief care or grief self-care toolkit so that you can manage the grief that shows up in the body, especially when it creates stress and it taxes your body and impacts your nervous system and sends you into fight or flight. Well, thank you for listening today. I want to encourage you to continue to take great care of yourself as you move through life. And if you're struggling or navigating death, loss, and grief, and you need help, tune in to the next Ananda Marshall. There are a series of Ananda Marshalls, but the next one is for those that are seeking more support with death, loss, and grief. As I always like to say, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Are you struggling with death, loss, and grief, and or interested in exploring how to embrace thriving mindfully with death, loss, and grief in your life, your relationships, and in your career? If you've answered yes to these questions, I want to invite you to come to the Grief in You retreat. It is a 2-day nurturing experience, 90 minutes each day, that I am leading on April 13th and 21st, May 4th and 5th, June 29th and 30th, July 27th and 28th, August 24th and 25th, September 28th and 29th, October 26th and 27th, November 16th and 17th, and then finally December 14th and 15th in 2024 from 2 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time via Zoom. Now, you can go to anandaleeke.com/events to get more information. Remember, this is a 2-day retreat, 90 minutes each day, and I'm offering it each month from April until December of 2024. We had our first retreat in March of 2024, and I learned through that experience that this should be a 2-day retreat. So I will see you at the retreat. Bye. One of the best ways to develop your own understanding of human design is by getting a reading, by getting a coaching session. And so that's what I'm offering as your human design doula. Go to anandaleeke.com/human design to learn how we can work together. Thanks for tuning in to the Thriving Mindfully podcast. If you're ready to be inspired and empowered with my coaching support, join me in the Thriving Mindfully Academy. Visit anandaleeke.com/academy. Now, if you're ready to dive deeper and move past your comfort zone with my one-on-one coaching program, book a discovery call with me today. Visit anandaleeke.com. If you need something juicy to read, check out my 3 mindfulness books, Love's Troubadours, a self-love and yoga-inspired novel, That Which Awakens Me, a mindful creativity memoir, and Digital Sisterhood, a mindful technology memoir. Go to anandaleeke.com/books. All of my books are available on Amazon.com. Well, that about wraps us up. And as I always like to say, may we all continue to embrace thriving mindfully in everything that we think, feel, say, and do. See you next time.